Hello and welcome to round one here at Grand Prix Washington, D.C. Maria Bartholdi in the booth, joined by Jacob Van Lunen. And there's a look of our feature match area. And you can see maybe a famous face. There's Kai Bude down in the feature match area for us here at the Grand Prix. I'm pretty excited to see what he can do, JVL.
Yeah, the three of them look like they're laughing and having a pretty good time here right before round one.
All right, but we're going to start here on our first table, which is the team of Martin Dang, Christopher Larson, and Thomas Envoldsen versus Andrew Ellenbogen, Max McVitie, and Tyler Hill. Starting off here on table C, Thomas versus Tyler. A lot of islands kicking things off here for both players. It'll be interesting to see as we go through the weekend, too, kind of how the teams have decided to build their decks, right? You've got so many packs of cards. What are the deck decisions you're normally making across three people?
So, you're looking to, put people in, color combinations that give them the most powerful cards, but you're also looking to give people leverage in winning particular types of matchups a lot of the time. And some powerful stuff happening here on the floor.
Yes, you don't need color. You didn't worry about color with Karn. Karn's on the battlefield. We were able to deal with a Valduk early on in the game with a syncopate from Thomas. Oh, and another. we just keep slamming them down here. Tyler Hill has a Joyra, Captain of the Weatherlight, hitting the table. 3/3. Draws you a card if you cast a historic spell. But that Karn is just so much sick value. And
oh, my goodness. That is the best... That is the best two-card flip I've ever seen off of a Karn in this situation. He's had a Tempest Djinn and an Academy Journey Mage there.
Wow. That is nuts. What? I guess, what do you give him?
I think it really depends on what you have in your hand, I suppose.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow. It's hard here. I think that you probably end up giving him the Tempest Djinn. The Academy Journey Mage is just going to tempo you too hard here.
Yeah.
You don't want your Joyra to get off the table. The Joyra is going to be your card advantage engine that will allow you to fight with that Karn effectively.
Yeah. So that it looks like Tyler Hill agrees with you. The Journey Mage going under the Karn there, and the Tempest Djinn into Envoldsen's hand.
And we've talked about this format being slower and coming down to card advantage, and we are about to see an epic card advantage battle here. There's a Karn facing off against a Joyra, and as long as Tyler has some amount of historic cards in hand, this could get out of hand very quickly.
Oh, Deep Freeze here, going to deal with the Joyra, turn her into an 0-4 defending wall.
Yeah, Deep Freeze, a pretty good removal spell if most of your creatures either fly or are Juggernaut, because, of course, Juggernaut cannot be blocked by walls.
No, Juggernaut can get through walls. I've seen that guy battle. But you're right, I almost said Karn advantage. Card advantage with Karn. It's just what he does. And may be able to swing the game completely out of control. There's Halar the Fire Fletcher for Tyler Hill, 3/3 Trampler. If you kick some spells, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on it and then deals damage equal the number of +1/+1 counters on it to your opponent.
Most importantly, this Halar has Trample, and that means it's going to be very good at pressuring the Karn on the other side of the table. I even imagine that Thomas in this situation is probably interested in minusing the Karn to put the Academy Journey Mage into his hand, thus bouncing the Halar.
Yep, and that is exactly what he does. Academy Journey Mage back into the hand, minus of the Karn, bounce Halar back to Tyler Hill's hand.
Yeah, and I think Thomas has just put himself in an excellent position to run away with this game. The Syncopate into that Karn has set him up so well here.
But both of these players' decks are nuts.
Yeah, a lot of powerful stuff happening on both sides of the table right now.
And it's interesting to note, by the way, Tyler Hill's deck, 3 colors. 3 colors, so at the table, maybe they decided there's going to be a base green deck that's going to play just some nutty stuff that we can't fit in any other deck. Here you go.
Yeah, and I think
draw cards off your Joyra.
Yeah, the fact that they have Joyra and they have Tatyova, they have these card advantage engines that are multicolored that reward you for playing a lot of these powerful historic cards. And if they're able to pair those with inexpensive removal and some pressure, it could really be whatever it is. This could be a really good deck to go long against just about anybody. Of course, Thomas's deck, when you syncopate into Karn, that's going to be a very good long game plan, even against the opponent that's trying to beat you in a long game.
Cloud Reader Sphinx here for Tyler Hill. Really solid. He's going to be able to scry 2 an Academy Journey Mage of his own, I see on the top of the deck, as well as I believe a Wizard's Lightning. Wow, the hits just don't stop coming for either team here.
Yeah, those are some good cards. Cloud Reader Sphinx is a really good card, too.
You know what I wouldn't be surprised to see in Tyler Hill's deck is some legendary sorceries.
I would not be surprised to see that at all either. I mean, legendary sorceries in general underperform in draft and really overperform in sealed, because in sealed you know what you're working with in terms of legendary creatures before you put these powerful cards in your deck. Whereas in draft, these are cards that you need to prioritize them very high if you want to get them, and then you don't really know how many legends you're going to end up having anyway.
Right. So Hill there puts both those cards back on top of his library, which is always a scary thing to see if you're Thomas. Thomas playing just 2 colors, red-blue, and when the stars align, it can be one of the more powerful synergies. You know, it's off the charts in draft if you're able to put it together. Do you think it has the same power level in sealed?
I think so. I mean, these colors are in many ways the least deep of the 5 colors in this format. But interestingly enough, they make up for their lack of depth with power. And I think in a format like this, that's oftentimes where you want to be.
Cloud Reader Sphinx here for Thomas as well. And here we see a Karn tick up, another Deep Freeze, and another Academy Journey Mage. Wow.
That's pretty nice. And I mean, when you get to set up the top of your library for your Karn Plus with a Cloud Reader Sphinx, you're in a pretty good spot.
And you know what's interesting, too? 2 copies of Deep Freeze in Thomas's deck so far that we know of. That's normally a card I associate with somebody playing blue-white Flyers, not necessarily red-blue Wizards.
Yeah, I think if you're a much more controlling deck, a deck that's planning on drawing a lot of cards, then that 0/4 body is somewhat irrelevant, because you're not looking to attack and win the game over the long haul. You're looking to just grind your opponent out. And that's exactly what Thomas wants to do here.
So an Academy Journey Mage here from Hill, and attack in with the Cloud Reader Sphinx will knock that Karn down to 4, but bounces the Sphinx back to Thomas's hand, which also doesn't feel great.
I just saw a card in Thomas's hand that's about to get
really?
crazy. Yeah.
Excellent.
Here it comes.
Is this it?
Oh, he chose not to.
All right, Cloud Reader Sphinx.
I believe he has a Siege Gang Commander in hand. Just casually is the second best card in the format in his hand. Maybe third.
Oh, Divination and a Shivan Fire here. The reveal for Karn. There's a look at Siege Gang Commander on your screen if you're not familiar. Just a house. You can pay 1 in a red and sacrifice a goblin, deals 2 damage to, that's right, any target. There's that Tempest Djinn we saw early in the match.
Every single card on Thomas's side of the table is just...
There's no bad card in his deck.
Yeah. Like, his deck just looks like a 10 out of 10. Maybe he drew the right half of his deck, but now looking through this list here, his deck looks pretty nice.
Tyler Hill's deck, nothing to sneeze at either. Just, it's been legendary card after legendary card. Just some crazy stuff I think he's holding in his hand as well. But that Karn has been such a problem for him so far this game. And this Journey Mage battle has been able to tempo him out a little bit, as you said.
Yeah, and the Karn has, put Tyler in a position where he really needs to be trying to pressure that Karn, and he's struggling to do so. And in the meantime, this Karn has already put Thomas up 4 cards.
Divination here for Tyler will draw him 2 cards, 3 mana left, and Halar is going to join the team once again. Back over to Thomas. He's already got quite a lot of power in the air. There is a Cloud Reader Sphinx able to block a little bit, but...
Yeah, this Tempest Djinn, though, I mean, it already has 5 power. It's a 5/4 flyer that Thomas paid 3 mana for.
I'll take that rate.
Happily. I mean, that's a pretty good one. I actually have lost to a player who is playing mono blue with multiple Tempest Djinns in this draft format. Pretty cool.
Simon Gertson in chat says Cloud Reader Sphinx might be the best common in Team Sealed.
I hadn't thought about that, but
it's interesting to rank it.
I think it's a reasonable statement.
Specifically for Team Sealed, you know.
Mm-hmm. And its format's going to be fairly slow, very high power level. Cloud Reader Sphinx often just puts the brakes on whatever type of aggression your opponent has and provides you with a win condition later on while setting up your mid to late game. It's an incredible card.
All right, so we're going to take care of the Sphinx on Hillside of the battlefield with a Shivan Fire from Envoldsen. See a Divination in hand as well. Oh, it's got to get to Chronicler. I just get all starry-eyed when I think about that card. All right, we're going to swing in with the Cloud Reader Sphinx and the Tempest Djinn. First blood here in this match. And a Deep Freeze will turn Halar into an 0-4.
A hot day here in DC, but
it's getting
not
icy.
so much in the convention hall.
Hill already down to 11 on that one attack.
And Tempest Djinn closes games very fast. Tyler's only flyer now out of the way, thanks to that Shivan Fire. Gives Thomas the ability to pressure away. Thomas ahead on cards, ahead in the board. Just every single metric.
Karn is so good in every format. Are you playing Magic? Probably play Karn.
Yeah. Pretty good card.
I'm so jealous. Megan, my co-host of my podcast, ripped a Karn at the pre-release, so she's got one.
Ooh, nice.
I have never actually had a chance to play with Karn yet. I've never opened him in a draft.
I opened him in the first pack I opened of the set.
Oh. Lucky.
Maybe why this is one of my favorite limited formats ever. Oh my goodness gracious.
What? Jaya's immolating Inferno here from Tyler Hill. Whoa. And we talked about the fact that he might be packing some legendary sorceries, and Thomas is going to have to take a read of that. That's right. X, red, red. It deals X damage to each of up to 3 targets. Oh.
Wow.
So X in this case was 4. So we're going to take down Karn, we're going to take down the Cloud Reader Sphinx, and we're going to take down the Tempest Djinn. What an insane play from Tyler Hill.
Oh my goodness. I'm sitting here, mouth agape. Incredible. I mean, talk about powerful magic. Tyler just wants that to be the middle of the table as a reminder of the chaos he hath wrought.
And he was up against it, just like you said, that Karn, that Sphinx, that Djinn on the table, well behind on life, and with 1 card has managed to clear things up. But here we go, another haymaker from Thomas. Siege Gang Commander hits the table.
Yeah, and I mean, Tyler at this point has to be like, what? Come on, I just dealt with all of that.
Oh, beautiful. Follow-up play, Tolarian Scholar. Just a little 2-3-4-3. But able to kind of rebuild the board in 1 turn. All right, Wizard's Lightning is able to deal with that Siege Gang Commander before things get too out of hand there. You've got to, that thing reads kill on the spot or else you die.
Yeah, Siege Gang Commander goes really wide, which is nice when Tyler doesn't have any power on the table. I mean, Thomas, even after getting his Siege Gang Commander killed there, still has 3 1/1s to show for it. One of the reasons why that card is just so powerful.
Yeah, Tyler just has a couple of 0-4s, you know. That's had a couple of really big plays there, but all right, we're going to add a Rampaging Cyclops to the board here. A little 4-4.
And now Rampaging Cyclops has this this disadvantage. It's a 4/4/4, which is great, but if it gets blocked by 2 or more creatures, it has -2, -0. But that can actually be used as an advantage in this draft format, I've found, because you often attack into 2 of their creatures. They double block.
And then you get them.
You kill one of their creatures, and this isn't a triggered ability. So when you kill one of the blocking creatures, then only one creature is blocking it, and it's fully powered to a 4/4. So when they block it with 2 3/3s, you can gain a massive advantage in that way. It's a cool play that comes up somewhat often in this limited environment.
Awesome. Thomas here is going to divinate. Draws 2 cards.
And I do love a limited environment where divination is very, very, very good.
Oh, and it is
Yes.
in this environment. How many are you happy to run in your sealed?
4?
I love it. All right, we're swinging in with the team here for Thomas, as he was able to take care of that Cyclops thanks to Fiery Intervention. Deals 5 to target creature or destroys an artifact. Just a solid removal spell. So solid, in fact, that Tyler Hill's got 2 in his hand.
Yeah.
And one of my all-time favorite cards in this format, Blink of an Eye.
Yeah, Blink of an Eye, a great card at fighting through these cards like Deep Freeze. Tyler can use that card to return Joyra back to his hand before recasting it. Another way that it's obviously just a powerful tempo spell, and it's also just it overperforms again in aggressive strategies because it's such a powerful tempo spell, but it's a powerful enough card that it goes in everything as a very high pick.
And so we're able to see here Blink of an Eye used on Tyler's own creature to reset Joyra from her Deep Freeze. Get to Chronicler here for Thomas will immediately get back Fiery Intervention and take her down. In swings the team once again at Tyler Hill, who just has a single 0/4 left back to block. That Valduk is exiled. That's what that's doing over there.
And it looks like this is it. Thomas showing off the power of Dominaria the set here.
This game was insane. What a way to start off our tournament. Grand Prix DC. Let's get things kicked off here in historic fashion. That game was awesome.
That game was incredible.
Both players' decks just insanely powerful.
I mean, when somebody syncopates their opponent's first spell and then casts Karn into an empty board, and the game seems close, that's just absurd.
And when somebody is able to cast Jaya's Immolating Inferno and kill a Karn, a Djinn, and a Cloud Reader Sphinx and still lose?
Yeah, and lose like handily. Like if the Immolating Fire killed Karn, Tempest Djinn, and Cloud Reader Sphinx, and Tyler was still way, way behind. Just incredible.
So Deep Freeze, in case you are not aware, Enchanted creature is base power and toughness 0/4, has defender, loses all other abilities, and is a blue wall. And this is the key part here, in addition to its other colors and types, and that's why we were able to cast that Inferno.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler still had legendary creatures in play.
They were just legendary walls.
Yeah. Those are things.
You know, if you go and see any old ruins, you know, some Roman ruins, that's a legendary wall, probably.
I would say so.
All right, let's take a look here at table B, and you can see the game count there on the top of your screen. Martin Dang is up a game over Andrew Ellenbogen. Max McVitie here up a game over Christopher Larson. Seat B. All right, we've got white and black mana on the table for Max. Sarah Disciple and a Dauntless Bodyguard in play. So we're definitely doing things a little bit differently here in this match.
Yeah, so Max looks to have put together a pretty aggressive strategy here, which is not something we see very often in this limited environment.
Especially in sealed, right?
Especially in sealed. But pretty powerful here. It looks like there are a lot of good cards and a lot of good ways to deal with the more powerful cards that might come from opponents. He has multiple copies of Blessed Light. Seems pretty good.
All right, so the Bodyguard here is going to trade off with a Spore Crown Salad in an attack. Another Sarah's Disciple is going to hit the table there for Max. And those Sarah's Disciples are better than I ever gave them credit for.
Yeah, they attack for 2 reasonably often, and the first strike is quite good. So good, in fact, that you often do not want any gliders in your deck post-board when you're playing against white.
Ooh, Arvad the Curse going to hit the table for Max. Sarah Disciple tries to get in. Both of them have now been vicious offeringed by Christopher Larson. Mammoth Spider hits play for him, but that's a Forebear's Blade on Max McVitie's side of the table. And once that thing is attached and you've got another creature hanging around, it is pretty nasty to play against.
Yeah, that is one of my favorite cards to play with in this format. If you haven't had the opportunity yet, I highly recommend trying it out with a Thallid Omnivore.
Ooh.
Lots of fun.
So it gives the equipped creature +3/+0 vigilance and trample. Whenever the equipped creature dies, you attach it to target creature you control, which can be done mid-combat.
Yeah.
If
move
something
it around.
has died, yeah. Unfortunately, no creature is left to speak of for Max here, as Christopher Larson has done a great job at dealing with everything that he had going on.
Yeah, Christopher Larson here, a deck that's splashing multiple colors, and he's getting a little bit punished for it here.
Wow. Aven Sentry, another piece of equipment. This time it's a Jousting Lance for McVitie.
And that means that this Sarah Disciple could be attacking for potentially 8 on the following turn. First strike, trample, and vigilance.
Oh, I just love imagining that Sarah Disciple holding both of those swords in its bird arms as it swings in. Terrifying. A bird with a knife. Yeah, I think I saw one of Larson's haymakers in his hand. Darigaz.
It's a pretty nice one. It's one of my favorite cards to play with in this format.
We're going to sacrifice here.
I keep saying that. Sorry.
Well, I mean, they can all be your favorite. It's a good format. Memorial to Unity here. We're going to find we're going to find a Sapherd. Little Sapherd. Sapherd I found is just an excellent card when you're trying to splash. Because normally you're going to be base green, and it comes along with its little Saproling. Just excellent at stalling the game out on the ground while you're able to kind of do your thing and try and find your colors. But Max McVitie doesn't care. Just going to swing in with this enormous 2 double sword wielding bird. Christopher Larson down to 10, and now down to 2. Eviscerate takes care of the Aven income, the Sapherds. Mesa Unicorn.
Mesa Unicorn is a card that combos pretty nicely with Forebear's Blade and Jousting Lance.
Oh, yes, it has lifelink. I remember how valuable Bishop Soldier was just a set ago. Mesa Unicorn. This set's version. Deathbloom Thallid and Sporecrown Thallid hit the table for Larson, who was able to get back that Sporecrown Thallid from the graveyard.
Yeah, now trying to decide whether or not it's possible to get this Mesa Unicorn off the table. I mean, right now the Mesa Unicorn has 5 power. Next turn it could have 7 power and have first strike and trample. So he's going to need to put at least 7 points of toughness in front of the Mesa Unicorn, and then have an additional 2 power left over to get it off the table.
Oh, you can see him doing the math on the table there as well. That Sporecrown Thallid giving +1/+1 to Saprolings and Fungus. So everybody is pumped up right now on the table for Larson.
It's round 1 of the GP. Everybody's pumped up.
He is able to crack in here. Yeah, it's, when I walked in this morning, the sound, it was almost deafening walking into the hall because players were building their decks. And normally when you walk into a GP, it's not that loud because people are concentrating and playing or whatever, or writing down their deck list. It was just so loud. It made me so happy to hear everybody chatting as they were deck building.
And it's that calm roar.
Yeah.
Because it's the loudness of thousands of people talking. Not yelling, not clapping, just talking. Super cool.
All right, so we've got a pretty big life-linking threat here from McVitie. But plenty of power and toughness on Larson's side of the battlefield, thanks to that Spore Crown Thallid. Nine, 12. All right, well, he's going to swing in anyway, and Christopher Larson, they all block it. Okay, so McVitie here will gain some life. Larson will lose 2 creatures in the trade. Not too bad. And he knew McVitie didn't have another creature because it would have already been on the table probably.
Oh, wow. And Christopher just drew Eviscerate. So it looks like Christopher, after having been up against it, facing off against this Forebearer's Blade and the Jousting Lance, not being able to deal with either one, he may have turned this around now.
All right, and Serra Disciple, number 3 here for Max McVitie, who was able to equip everything, and there is an Eviscerate. He just shows it to him, and that will do it. Wow. Christopher Larson able to tie things up here in Game 2 versus Max McVitie, 1 game apiece. We are still 1-0 at our top table, Table A. Martin Dang versus Andrew Ellenbogen. Thomas Enveltson, the match we watched first thing, versus Tyler Hill, up a game as well. Things all tied up on Table B. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, hats off to Christopher on finding a way to win that game, because I think a lot of people would have assumed that it was over and done with.
Right.
And right there, that's a very good example for why you shouldn't necessarily concede when you feel like there's no way you can win.
Absolutely.
Because as an onlooker, it felt to me like that game was over and done with, and Christopher, not even finding especially powerful spells. If he had drawn the land to cast his Dyrgaz, that would not have been good enough.
Right.
He needed to do what he did, and he did it with, commons and uncommons.
Memorial to Folly, able to get back that Spore Crown Thallid.
Yeah, he used a Memorial to Folly to, overcome a Jousting Lance and Forebearer's Blade, and that's an impressive feat.
Well, let's head back here to Table C, and things are well underway. Thomas versus Tyler, and once again we're seeing things looking a little bit crazy here. Just a legendary party on Tyler's side of the battlefield. A Siege Gang Commander for Thomas, Merfolk Trickster as well. In Bolas Clutches, we can see down there, clutched a Rampaging Cyclops, so we've got a pair of those out, and of course Tatyova, Benthic Druid.
Yeah, what's the most number of cards you've drawn off of Tatyova? The most fun card to play with in the set, by the way.
I mean, who even knows? It's like a million. It's just so incidental. You're like, I'll play a land. Oh, okay, so I'll draw a card. Okay.
Yeah, I've won games where I have 3 cards left in my library when I've had that card in my deck. It's real nice. It's important that you play, Memorial to Folly and Soul Salvage, so that when they kill it, you can get it back.
Because yeah, of course.
You want to keep playing with that card. That's a card that's fun enough that it's worth playing with over and over and over again.
Gaia's blessing. There you go. Thanks, Rich. Karn, by the way, in the graveyard on Thomas's side of the table. So that's already happened.
Yeah, so Thomas, a pretty wise play here, playing around the play we described earlier that happens often with Rampaging Cyclops, if he does choose to triple block there with that Goblin token.
2 mana left up for Thomas as well, so he does have an activation of the Siege Gang Commander. There's a look at Halar the Fire Fletcher on Tyler's side of the table. Yeah, it looks like Thomas is thinking about that triple block, JVL.
Yeah, and this, Tyler Hill, if he doesn't have a spell now, will be forced to trade the Cyclops for 2 Goblins or the Siege Gang Commander itself, if he so desires.
Thomas also has a Blink of the Eye in hand, too. Yep. Blink of the Eye here on the unblocked Rampaging Cyclops. We're not going to be able to kick it.
Yeah, and Blink of an Eye here, at its most powerful, when you're using it on a creature that your opponent has stolen with In Bolas's Clutches, then you're essentially killing the creature because it doesn't go back to their hand, and you're drawing a card because it does go back to your hand. So.
Oh, sure. So you're not technically using the kicker to draw a card, but
Yeah.
you are drawing a card, quote unquote.
Doing it the hard way.
All right, are we syncopating this? Is that what I'm seeing? I'm not quite sure. Oh, no, it was Tyler's own Blink of an Eye. And he was able to kick it, so Halar gets a counter, and we've dealt an additional 1 to Thomas. Wow.
A really interesting turn there. So what happened is Tyler Hills kicked Blink of an Eye, pumped his Halar, also returned In Bolas's Clutches back to Tyler's hand. So, that's one of the most powerful cards in the set, perhaps the best uncommon in the entire set. And now Tyler, with that card in hand, ready to go if Thomas plays one of his many unbeatable cards.
He has a lot in his deck. Well, we're able to Fiery Intervention Halar away, 2 goblins swinging in, but Thomas's life at a pretty perilous 4.
Yeah, if Tyler doesn't have a threat here, it's not the end of the world because in many ways he's kind of forcing Thomas not to play something too powerful because he does have the clutches
right
at the ready, and Thomas knows about it now.
Divination here for Hill.
Yeah, that's exactly the card I want to play here.
It's great. I just love these graveyards. Just carnage.
Yeah, actual carnage.
Self high five. I didn't even realize I did that. Filled with legendary creatures. A true Dominarian battle. All right, so a Rampaging Cyclops and a Vodalian Arcanist here for Thomas. The Arcanist, a card that I've seen more people play recently, as opposed to the beginning of the set when it just was released.
Yeah, it's a card that helps you get to the point where you're kicking Fight with Fire and whatnot.
Wow,
also, just 1/3s are good at holding the fort when you're planning on getting to the point where you're casting exceptionally powerful card advantage spells, as Thomas is.
So Thomas must have sideboarded in that rescue that we just saw to save his creature from In Bolas's Clutches.
Yeah, now rescue, I guess it did what the card says. It rescued the Rampager, but
you bring it in if your opponent has In Bolas's Clutches, right? That's just like the only time that you're running this.
It's a card that I'm not used to seeing, even when they do have In Bolas's Clutches. Yeah, I have not played with rescue. I've had rescue cast against me. This is definitely the best I've seen it.
All right, so Rampaging Cyclops comes down once again, saved from the talons of Bolas. To return to fight the good fight for Thomas.
And Thomas, some good patience there. Didn't cast the Cyclops the turn before. Waited until he was able to draw that rescue. A pretty nice deal, spending 1 mana to deal with your opponent's 6 mana super powerful spell.
All right, Gitu Chronicler here for Tyler. A card I love to play.
Yeah, and cards like Vodalian Arcanist, Gitu Chronicler, these are the reasons why this format is not so aggressive. In more recent formats, we've seen power and toughness creatures that are more defensive that don't have abilities and don't do anything later on in the game. So, you're playing them just to defend, and they don't really do anything for you, so you draw them late in the game and they don't do anything at all. Whereas in this format, these 1/3s that are such good defensive creatures later on become really, really powerful.
Firefist Adept, an all-star in the Blue-Red Wizards deck here for Thomas. Deals X damage to target creature and opponent controls, where X is the number of wizards you control.
Yeah, often a very clean 2-for-1. One of the better cards if you're the wizard deck.
Yeah, and since that Chronicler already had a damage marked on it from blocking a Goblin token, he was able to take it down.
Oh,
my.
yes.
Here it comes. Jaya's Immolating Inferno yet again. And this time, we don't need to target the creatures. We just need to target Thomas's face.
Yeah, sometimes 4 is enough.
Wow. Tying things up here. Tyler Hill, Thomas Envelton, 1 game apiece on table C.
And this is a battle Tyler and Thomas are having.
This is...
I mean, it's like, 2 warships going at it. This is...
It feels very
haymaker after
flavorful,
haymaker.
right?
Yeah.
Like, if these characters were on Dominaria battling each other, this is the game it would be.
Yeah, this is like a cartoon that I would love to watch. these things going at it.
I would watch a cartoon Karn.
Yeah.
He's pretty cute. All right, so we do just now have a result from Table A. The first definitive result of this round. Martin Dang defeats Andrew Ellenbogen 2-0. So, Christopher Larson, if he can get it done here for his team, that'll be it. Thomas will also be fighting the good fight down there in Game 3 versus Tyler. But let's check in here on Table B. Life totals 14-17.
Larson, in a somewhat precarious situation. If this mammoth spider leaves the table, he will lose the game very, very, very quickly. But right now, the mammoth spider doing a very good job of holding back Max's formidable air squad. That Pegasus Courser.
Ooh, I love Pegasus Courser.
Yeah. When it's able to throw double strikers up into the air, that's pretty nice.
And Eviscerate hanging out in Larson's hand as well, in case anything should start to get out of hand. But yeah, we were talking about Max's deck, definitely almost a complete opposite of what we were just watching, which is tinier creatures that work better together, more synergistic, able to equip weapons onto little creatures and turn them into big flying threats. History of Benalia in the graveyard already for Max as well. So we get that Knight.
Wow. Yeah.
Ooh, Knight of Malice here for Larson. Thallid Omnivore turning sideways. 3 mana at the ready. Omnivore also just an all-star in Dominaria.
Yeah, it's a card that performs really, really well. It has some nice interactions with a lot of the other cards in the set. And then even when you don't have any of those things that interact with it, it just ends up playing quite well. You often sacrifice a creature that your opponent targets with a spell that also draws them a card, and then they don't draw their card. You sacrifice a creature when they try to Imbolus clutches it. Just a card that makes the game a lot different for your opponent often.
And it has Threat of Activation is what we call it when you're just sitting there worried about 1 mana to pay to sacrifice and grow your Thallid Omnivore.
Yeah, normally a 3/3 attacking into a board of, 3 points of first strike, not very impressive. But here, Max being tapped out, he's forced to just take that damage.
All right, so the Thallid Omnivore able to get in for a hit there. (14-14). So Max McVitie, if you weren't here earlier in the round, does have some very powerful equipment in his deck in the form of Forebear's Blade, and he has a Jousting Lance as well.
Yeah, it looks like Max actually has Adamant Will in hand.
I see.
Which is exceptionally strong when you have Quende. Also, the Serra Disciple comboing nicely with the Quende, and the Quende comboing with the Pegasus Courser here. If Max can get this Mammoth Spider off the table, this game is going to end so fast. And he can probably just get it off the table right now by pumping up the Quende with an attack, but that would use his whole turn and would give Christopher an opportunity to use all of his mana exactly as he would want to.
And the thing, too, with getting rid of the spider is that Memorial of the Folly sitting on Larson's side of the table.
That's true.
Just get it back later. God, Memorial of the Folly, so good.
Yeah.
Or annoying, depending on how you look at it. Knight of Grace, so we've got our 2 knights sparring here.
Yeah, two of the better 2-drops in this format, and a format without many good 2-drops.
And where 2-drops are kind of sometimes not important or not relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Yavimaya Sapherd for Larson will bring along a Saproling token. Fun fact, that fungus, that Sapherd there, is raising the Saprolings much as we raise farm animals for food.
Oh, it eats the fungus?
Yeah, that's why the omnivore, the Thallid omnivore, sacrifices, can sacrifice Saprolings and eat them, because they're essentially raising them as food.
Oh, that's a good idea. That seems efficient.
Yes, the fungus have developed. Farming, beware. All right, so the omnivore is going to get in here and sacrifice a Saproling. We've had a triple block here from Max.
Yeah, so Christopher going to have to sacrifice another creature here.
And here, I think we're going to see that Adamant Will.
Yep.
On the Knight of Grace. Okay, so we are able to deal with the Thallid omnivore. But that spider still hanging around for Larson.
Yeah, but now things might be pretty good for Max. I think this might be an opportunity. I believe that he has Arvad in hand, which would make this Quende into a 4/4 double striker.
Players on the table discussing something here. You see a judge's hand, and there's the Adamant Will. I think we're talking about this block.
So the Thallid omnivore had 7 power toughness.
Yep, it sacrifices Saproling and the Sapherd.
Yeah.
And those 3 blocked, and the Knight of Grace, the Adamant Will was played on the Knight of Grace.
Yeah, so that's 7 points of power. So the Thallid should probably be gone.
We're backing things up here, taking a look at what happened.
We just have to, figure out exactly.
I mean, it gets a little weird because Quende gives creatures you control first strike, double strike, and has double strike itself. And as you know, that Knight of Grace has first strike, so it has double strike. And that Serra Disciple has first strike, so it has double strike.
Yeah, and the Knight of Grace actually has 3 power, so it's 8 points of first strike blocking, and then I believe the Omnivores was just a 7/7.
We're trying to take a listen as to what the players are saying down on the table. Okay, so we can tell that they're just, I think the question is about the phrasing and the way that the players talked about what was happening during that attack.
Okay, so I believe Christopher probably wanted to activate the Omnivore once more, but felt like he didn't get an opportunity to do so,
I see.
Whereas there was confusion on the other end.
All right, well, let's take a peek in here at our main match we've been following while they figure out that judge call. Thomas Envelton versus Tyler Hill on table C.
Much more reasonable cards on the table this time around.
Yeah, this looks like. I mean, we've got Joyra. She's down here. We've got to get to Chronicler. It's about to be kicked, I assume. Get back Wizard's Lightning. But the battles here on Table C have just been epic. And here we go once again.
Well, then.
Jaya's Immolating Inferno.
For just 2.
Taking out a Merfolk Trickster. And a Gitu Journey Mage. Wow, we've seen... I mean, you came here for fireworks, everybody. This card's been played in all 3 games here on this table. No big deal.
It was good enough in one of them.
Deep Freeze here from Thomas will once again be freezing Joyra down. She's been cold in plenty of these matches. Need to bring a sweater on the Weatherlight.
Yeah. And Joyra, potential to do a lot of work in Tyler's deck.
Man, isn't it tempting though to use the Gitu Chronicler to get back the Immolating Inferno?
Yes, that is about the most tempting thing I've.
I think I would have been too greedy to play it. Oh, well, it's because he's got another one in hand. That's why. Tatyova Benthic Druid here for Tyler Hill. Let's play a land. Let's draw some cards. Gain a life.
Tatyova Benthic Druid. It just feels so good. Like, oh, I'm going to pad my life total a little bit. I'm going to draw cards. And you have to use your next turn to deal with this, or you lose.
And there's the Gitu Journey Mage. Will hit Tyler for 2 when it comes in to play there. Another Deep Freeze, Tatyova. Sad. Frozen as well. It is December on Dominaria. Gitu Chronicler here, though. Oh, value! Gets back Jaya's Immolating Inferno. Ah, it's so good.
It is the best. What Fire forged? Fire remembers.
Oh, yes. And it
Perhaps
remembers.
Never more apt than right now.
It remembers dealing some damage. Cloud Reader Sphinx here for Thomas. He's going to scry 2 and kind of force the issue a little bit with this Immolating Inferno.
Yeah, Tyler may want to hold off. Although, you know, it's a bit scary to hold off because it's post-board. Your opponent knows you have it. He may have sideboarded in some cards that deal with it. Maybe something like an Unwind.
Fiery Intervention here on the Sphinx is good. Takes it down. I can't handle Tyler Hill's mana tapping. Halar the Fire Fletcher here for Hill. That's right. Nothing but legendaries saved the Chronicler on Tyler Hill's side of the table.
And Halar, you know, in game 1, I thought that card, if Thomas didn't have the removal spell that he had a lot of potential to be a great answer to Karn.
Right.
Simply because it had trample.
Gitu Chronicler of his own for Thomas here is going to get back Divination. And we're going to be able to use that Vidalian Arcanist to be able to cast it. We found a Weight of Memory in another spell. And indeed, those Deep Freeze creatures do retain their legendary type, so we have Halar, but even if we didn't, we could still cast the Inferno. But first, we're going to Divination here. Just a glorious game. Pass the turn back over to Thomas. Life total's 18 to 13. Remember, Martin Dang has won his match versus Andrew Ellenbogen, so we just need one more win here over on the left side of the tables for that team to take it down. Here's a Weight of Memory.
And a Weight of Memory, I believe Thomas is going to go ahead and mill Tyler. Even though that can be a bit scary when your opponent is playing cards like Gitu Chronicler, they're playing a long enough game here where I don't think it's unreasonable to imagine that one player may win by decking the other. And that's something they really need to start thinking seriously about right now. There's a lot of toughness on the table, and both these players have a lot of haymakers in their deck, but they also both have tons and tons of answers. Thomas now discussing the decision with his teammates here.
Yep. So it's something we'll see at team events like this. It's helpful to have your friends on board to give their input on tough decisions.
And this is a hard one. You know, you have to say to yourself, is the potential danger of putting something powerful in my opponent's graveyard greater than the potential of this game will end in a draw? And in my opinion here, you want to mill Tyler Hill, because even if he does have another Get To Chronicler and you flip up something awesome, he already has
good stuff in there.
He already has the Immolate with fire. So it's like, is he going to get something better than that?
No.
I don't think. Is there something better than that? You know, it's hard to imagine. Although if he targets Tyler and then Tyler mills like a Temporal Sundering, Karn's Temporal Sundering, and then draws another Get To Chronicler, that would be the funniest.
So the Inferno's still in Tyler Hill's hand, actually. We still get a chance to catch that, but the Fiery Intervention in the graveyard. And I think now we're talking about something that chat noticed. Sulfur Falls coming into play tapped.
Yeah, I mean, this is not really going to affect the game that much. I mean,
No.
well, it could be the decision that wins or loses the game if this does come down to decking. But I mean, I would encourage these players to make a decision quickly about whether or not you're going to mill yourself for 3 or mill the opponent for 3.
Right. Oh, Syncopate here is going to stop the weight of memory. Counting up lands, knowing how much damage that Immolating Inferno could potentially deal. The answer? A lot. 11? 10? 10 right now?
So Thomas, even though he's not playing anything, boards are somewhat even, I think Thomas is in a pretty good position here, because not only does he have that Tempest Djinn, but he also has a Siege Gang Commander in hand.
All right, Tempest Djinn here for Thomas. Adds another island into play as well, pumping up the power there of that Djinn. I'm not entirely sure how much time is left, actually, in this match. The clock is at 0, but I'm not sure if that was timing the round or timing the feature match area, because the feature match area is on a different clock than the rest of the building.
Yeah, so Tyler Hill trying to hold on to this Jaya's Immolating Inferno as long as possible. Get the best things he can get with it. Not really pressuring Thomas's life total at all, though.
All right, so an update here. Max has won his match against Christopher Larson, so we are even Stevens, and this match, this game we're watching here, will decide this round.
I mean, this is about as exciting as it gets. We're here in round 1 of the GP, and we're already, biting our fingernails.
And here is the Immolating Inferno hitting the table. We're going to choose the Djinn. We're going to choose the Journey Mage. And we are going to choose you and Syncopate from Thomas.
Able to counter Jaya's Immolating Inferno for 11, I believe it was.
Wow. All right, so we are in turns. There is the dice on the table. 18-13. Is it possible to get it done?
Yeah, there's a decent amount of power in the air. Tempest Djinn's taking for 4 now. Can Thomas put more pressure on the board and get through this pile of O4s on the other side?
Siege Gang Commander can help.
Siege Gang Commander can absolutely help. Those goblins can be thrown at Tyler here. Tyler only at 9 here.
There's a fiery intervention, though.
Yeah, and that's targeting the Siege Gang Commander, but Thomas can respond here by sacrificing one of the Goblin tokens to deal 2 to Tyler, thus putting him at 7, then sacrificing the Siege Gang Commander itself, thus putting Tyler down to 5, and then he's drawing an island away from having that Tempest Djinn be lethal on the following turn.
He also has Blink of an Eye.
Oh, that's
and
very
it was the Djinn, actually.
Oh, yeah, that makes way more sense. I'm sorry.
All right, so he's going to let the Djinn go down, I think. Looks like he's moved to the graveyard. Talking about, as you can see the other teammates' hands coming in. I love it. Everybody working together here, as this is the deciding match.
Yeah, and Tyler now looking to just survive, kind of get a draw for his team, whereas Thomas, he has 2 turns to close this thing, and it looks like he might be able to do it.
There was Blink of an Eye, sending Halar the Fire Fletcher back into Tyler Hill's hand. Academy Journey Mage here is going to be able to bounce something.
Yeah, and bouncing a Gitu Chronicler.
Ugh.
Something you don't see very often.
But you guys got to here in this position. We've got to do some damage. We're on turn 3.
I think it puts him in a position to be attacking for lethal. Oh, this will do it. This is
here
way
we
better.
Go. Fire Fist Adept.
This is what we're looking at.
Fire Fist Adept takes down the Chronicler. In swings the team. We've got 2 OFAR walls to block the Siege Gang Commander and the Journey Mage.
Yeah, and then the Siege Gang Commander activated ability will be enough to finish off Tyler.
Wow!
Thomas winning in turns here. Wow, that match. It's like they were throwing boulders at one another.
That was insane.
Karn, Jaya's Immolating Inferno, Joyra,
Tatyova,
everything you could possibly imagine. Siege Gang Commander in Bolas' clutches. I mean, those were likely the 2 most powerful decks that either of those teams had, and had to face off against one another. It all came down to that game of Magic.
That was incredible. What a way to kick off our tournament here in DC. Team of Dang, Larson, and Envoltson starts things off with a win here in round 1. Welcome back to the booth, Maria Bartholdi and Jacob Van Lunen. I'm just going to put it to you. What was your favorite card of that match?
My favorite card of that match was Jaya's Immolating Inferno.
I mean,
as far as the narrative went, it was a card that, in game 1, we watched this game where Karn came down onto an empty board, and, it put its controller up so many cards over the course of the game. It looked like there was no way back, and then Jaya's Immolating Inferno happened, and it looked like there might have been a chance for Tyler to come back and win. He ended up not being able to do that. But then in Game 2, Jaya's Immolating Inferno just easily won him the game. And in Game 3, we saw it cast multiple times, the second of which, it was syncopated. Just
when it was being cast for 11.
Yeah. So Thomas able to defend against an opponent who cast Jaya's Immolating Inferno twice in a single game.
Unbelievable. All right, we're going to be back with round 2 here at Grand Prix DC. Stay tuned after these messages.
Hello there, welcome back to the booth here at Grand Prix DC. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe, joined by Kenji Egashira. Welcome. We've got Team Seal today, Kenji, and we've been talking a little bit about this last night on the way in. Kenji and I were on the same flight and on the same ride into the hotel, and we've got some good thoughts about this forum. We're going to be bringing you those and more over the course of the weekend on this fine team event here. This is the last chance for these teams to qualify for Team Pro Tour 25th anniversary, so they're going to be scrapping it out, not for the normal stuff only at a Team GB, but also for that qualification. So this is a lot on the line here this weekend. Kenji, what are some of the things that you expect to see from our teams?
Lots of multicolor cards in your decks. There's just too many good multicolor cards not to be running. Tatyova, Garna, Slimefoot, Raph. I mean, just these cards are going to find their ways in their decks just because, you know, they're so powerful, and there's probably a lot of good fixing. You get 12 packs. That means you're going to get your Skittering Surveyors. We might see some Compass. I mean, I don't want to, but we might see some Compass. Hey,
already? It's really early. Okay, it's not that early, but it's too early to talk about Compass.
You know, in Dallas,
just let me be happy for a few minutes.
In Dallas, we saw Tom Martell running it, I think, in the very first round or something like that. So, you know, I have high hopes. High hopes.
I don't know if I'm ready for the Compass talk quite yet, but we will be covering that if we see it as well. The big difference, of course, here, and what Kenji's referring to with these gold cards, is that we've got these legends, but the difference is that they're uncommon. Right. I mean, if I read you those cards that you just read, Tatyova, Slimefoot, Raph Kapushin, these type of cards, you know, you'd probably go, that's a rare, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
it feels like a rare.
They feel like rares. Yeah, yet they're not. They're uncommon, and that, of course, means when you take it on a large scale and look behind us at all the players, I mean, there's over 500 teams here. There are so many of that power level of card that are opened that the players are heavily incentivized to get those into their deck lists, because normally you just don't get that kind of power level at the uncommon slot. And the only question is, can you cast them? And the answer in Team Sealed is probably yeah. You know, you're going to probably be able to fit those into a few of the two-color decks that your team makes. And then on top of it, you're going to have the fixing that Kenji referenced as well to maybe put together some splashes and a third deck and see what you can come up with. But these decks are going to be overpowered. I mean, these are going to be the most powerful versions of these decks that you're going to see in limited, period. And what do you think floats to the top when you get to the point where you have such a condensed card pool to choose from?
Just removal becomes so important at that point. Like the creature quality is so high that if you don't have a removal spell, you know, you're just going to lose the game. PV was talking about it in Dallas. We were talking about it earlier. These little mini games, these sub games. When
I love that.
Yeah, if your opponent plays a Slimefoot and you just don't kill it, the game goes on. Well, your opponent's going to win.
Yes.
Right. It becomes so focal of a point for you to kill that Slimefoot that if you don't, you're just like, you know, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
Yeah, and we're going to be keeping an eye on those throughout the course of the weekend. I love that PV came up with that term, the mini game, right? So some cards have such a distinct impact on the board state itself that they become all that your opponent really cares about. And the interesting part is it's not just mythic rares. It's not just like a Planeswalker, which, you know, we don't see a ton of those in Limited, but when they do pop up, those are kind of the classic mini game of, okay, I'm going to start attacking this Planeswalker. I'm going to start using resources to get rid of the Planeswalker. But, you know, you just mentioned Slimefoot. It's an uncommon.
Oh, yeah.
And that is absolutely, you know, one of the mini game style cards in many board states where you kind of have to deal with it. Another one that comes to mind is Tatyova, right? Your opponent plays a Tatyova and says, maybe oftentimes they'll be like, Tatyova, land, go. And it's on you. Like, if you do not kill that card by the time you get to pass a turn back to them, you are in an extreme deficit.
Drowned in card advantage.
Probably going to lose the game. Yeah. And again, this is what we're talking about with these mini games. We're going to be seeing a lot of those here as well. Also, stacked teams. You know, for those of you that like to follow the team game, there are many of the best teams. Now, part of the reason for that, next weekend is the Pro Tour in Richmond. He's playing in it, by the way. And but a lot of the teams have stopped by early. And what that means is two things. One is that they're trying to get their hands on these cards as well and come out and play a fun GP. But two, it means that we get teams that we wouldn't normally get in the building. Teams from Europe, for example, who maybe would have their own team GP happening this weekend somewhere in Europe rather than come stateside for it. Teams from Japan, that kind of thing, have traveled a long way, and they just go, you know, we'll just go out a week early. we'll get used to the time zone difference, and we're going to play in the Team GP. And so we get a chance to see really some of the best possible teams out here in the field, and that's just a real treat for us in the booth.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to see. These players are so good. Get their minds together. What kind of pools can you build, even if you don't open the best cards? It's crazy.
Yeah, and that is what we're going to be looking at here. Now, for now, we're actually waiting, though, for the players to get ready. We actually were covering the last the last round here. This round, just because our feature match ended up going quite long.
Yep.
One of the things that you and I were talking about yesterday, Kenji, and I wanted to get your take on while we have a few minutes here, we talked about these legendary creatures, right? Some of the really good ones. How many of them would you play in a deck? Because, look, being uncommon, you might find yourself with 4 slime feet.
You might, yeah.
Right? Like, it could definitely happen in some of the pools here. How far do you push that envelope? I mean, they're still legendary. You can't have, any of them in your hand are dead cards if one of them sticks on the board.
So I think we agreed that we would at least start the first 3.
Three slime feet, I'm in.
Right. 4, I think I would definitely play. Just, again, it's a 2-3 for 3. It comes down early. You can trade away with it. You can do some double blocks with it. It has a high target on its head, so your opponent's going to be playing all the removal spells on it already. I think you play upwards of 4, maybe.
Yeah. 5 is... You're not probably opening 5, let's be honest.
Okay, but if you had
But if you
5,
did, would you play the 5th slime foot in your deck? Like, you could have an opener that has 3 slime feet. I don't know if that's good or not. I feel like it might be.
Yeah, Slimefoot's one of those cards where obviously it's a lot better in the late game stages, but the thing is, a 2-3 in the early game still trades away with a lot of the creatures. There are enough 3/2s or other 2-power creatures that it can stop. So I think Slimefoot specifically is one that you wouldn't mind having 4+ of.
Okay.
But something
but let's move to, what about Wrath Capuchin, for example?
So I would still play the first 3 Wrath.
For sure.
Yeah, because it's just so good. It's a 3/3 flash flyer.
But you wouldn't play 5 Wrath, would you?
5 is probably pushing it.
Pushing a little, maybe 4.
How many would you totally depends.
Yeah. All right, well, the players are ready. Let's head down. It's time for the next round of action here from GPDC.